Back in June, the first video I uploaded on the new F1 23 game was simulating the next 10 years in MyTeam. And that video done, let's say, pretty well. But that was over 6 months ago and we are now in 2024. The F1 season has ended and there are many updates to both driver and car performances within the game. So I thought I would go back to that idea and see how much the updates affected the outcome of the next 10 years starting in the 2024 season. Now, none of the drivers changed teams going into this 2024 season, however there was a rebranding for the Alfa Romeo team as they become Stake F1 team for the next 2 years before Audi take over in 2026. Enough rambling on, let's get into the simulation starting with the 2024 season. But before we get into it, make sure you're subscribed as YouTube says only 4.8% of my viewers are actually subscribed to my channel, so make sure you scroll down and press the subscribe button if you haven't and leave a like if you enjoy the video. In the first season, we will first look at the Constructors' Championship, where we will have Red Bull coming out on top ahead of McLaren and Ferrari, with all the teams except for AlphaTauri scoring points. We're heading into the Drivers' Championship and we had 4 different race winners this season, including Max Verstappen, both Ferraris, and the McLaren of Lando Norris winning his first F1 race. However, the first championship of the simulation will inevitably be won by Max Verstappen. Lando Norris managed to get P2 ahead of both Ferraris, Sergio Perez and his teammate of Oscar Piastri. And at the end of the 2024 season, 7-time champion of Lewis Hamilton has decided it's time to retire after another winless season. The returning Daniel Ricciardo moves into the Mercedes team, while Nico Hülkenberg moves into the open AlphaTauri. This leaves the seat open for someone to make their Formula 1 debut, with Liam Lawson driving the Haas in 2025. There will also be some slight regulation changes to both the powertrain and durability departments heading into the second season. Moving into the following season, and Red Bull struggled to retain their Constructors' Championship, with McLaren taking the top spot in Season 2. And despite winning 11 times last season, Verstappen is only able to win 1 race this year, with 8 different race winners this season, including Lando Norris, Leclerc, Sainz and Perez. Fernando Alonso also managed to secure his long-awaited 33rd race win, with a brand new race winner coming in the form of McLaren's Oscar Piastri. But when it comes down to the championship, no one can beat the McLaren drivers, with Lando Norris being the man to come out on top, winning a total of 7 times this season. Now, there's not many driver transfers at the end of the season, apart from the retirement of Fernando Alonso after his 33rd win. The open seat in Aston Martin is then given to the young talent of Theo Pourchaire, heading into the huge regulation changes in 2026. Stake F1 team has now officially become Audi, with Red Bull working with Ford and Aston Martin with Honda. The Constructors' Championship remains very similar despite these changes, with McLaren remaining on top ahead of Red Bull and Ferrari. There wasn't quite as many race winners this season, however there were still 5, including the reigning champion of Lando Norris, his teammate of Oscar Piastri, both Red Bulls of Verstappen and Perez, as well as Charles Leclerc. Both Leclerc and Perez were only able to win once this season, while Verstappen and Piastri won 3 times each. The reigning champion of Lando Norris would win 8 times in order to retain his championship in the 3rd season. His teammate was able to back him up while leading Verstappen and both Ferraris in the Drivers' Championship. Driver moves this season were once again sparked by the retirement of a driver, with Valtteri Bottas retiring after just a single season with Audi. Lance Stroll would then go on to fill the seat, with Felipe Drugovich given a seat in the Aston Martin to make his Formula 1 debut. There will also be some slight regulation changes to both the chassis and powertrain departments at the end of this season. Going into Season 4, and McLaren will once again remain on top of the Constructors' Championship, leading Ferrari, with Alpine making a huge jump up to 3rd ahead of Red Bull. We also had some more race winners this year, with 16 races being split between 7 different drivers, including 5 wins for Piastri, 3 wins for Leclerc, with Verstappen also winning 3 races. Lando Norris was able to win twice, while Carlos Sainz and both Alpines of Pierre Gasly and Esteban Ocon also managed to win a race just the once. But when it comes to the championship, the Ferrari driver of Charles Leclerc manages to come out on top, despite Oscar Piastri winning the most races this season, with Piastri still ending up behind his teammate of Lando Norris. Driver moves this season were not actually sparked by a retirement, but by Mercedes releasing Daniel Ricciardo after he failed to finish in the top 10. Carlos Sainz is fed up of finishing behind Leclerc all the time, and Leclerc's championship pushed him to leave and join the Mercedes team. George Russell will then head the other way, allowing Sainz to be the main driver at Mercedes, pairing with Dennis Hauger. Oscar Piastri will also leave his team after finishing behind his teammate and will make a swap with Lance Stroll, meaning Piastri moves to Audi, with Stroll moving to McLaren. Audi also decides to swap their other driver of Zhou Guanyu with the Aston Martin driver of Felipe Drugovich. There will also be some regulation changes to both the aerodynamics and durability departments, ensuring a large shake-up next season. And that is definitely what happened in Season 5, with the reigning champions McLaren dropping down to 3rd place and none other than Alpine taking the top spot in the Constructors' Championship. The Alpine drivers were able to secure 8 race wins, with Gasly winning 6 times, with Ocon managing to win twice. The Red Bull drivers were able to win 6 races this season, with Verstappen winning 5 times but Perez winning just once. And then Norris was able to take the final 2 race wins for this season. But despite winning more races, Gasly was only able to finish second in the Drivers' Championship behind the Red Bull of Max Verstappen. Carlos Sainz was able to break into the top 10 with the Mercedes team, but then he decides to retire at the end of this season. Esteban Ocon couldn't stand finishing behind his teammate and moves into the open Mercedes seat, with Oscar Piastri finally making that move to Alpine. Yuki Tsunoda moves away from AlphaTauri for the first time in his career and will be driving for Audi next season. This allows the AlphaTauri team to give Johan Daruvala his Formula 1 debut in Season 6. Midway through Season 6, Daruvala was dropped by AlphaTauri, with Hauger moving away from Mercedes into the AlphaTauri. The Mercedes team opt to bring Daniel Ricciardo back and let him finish the season. The Constructors' Championship also has a big shake-up, with Alpine dropping to 4th place and Red Bull returning to championship glory. The Red Bull drivers were able to secure a total of 6 race wins, with George Russell winning his first race for Ferrari. Lando Norris was also able to win some races, with Theo Pourchaire winning his first ever Formula 1 race with Aston Martin. Despite Red Bull winning the Constructors, the Drivers' Championship will go to the McLaren driver of Lando Norris after winning 8 races across the entire season, absolutely destroying his teammate of Lance Stroll. And there was actually no driver transfers at the end of this season, but there will be some regulation changes to both the aerodynamics and powertrain departments, which can guarantee a shake-up in the results next season. Unfortunately, the changes just didn't make a lot of difference in the top of the Constructors' Championship as McLaren retained the title. There was a big change for Mercedes though, as they dropped all the way down to 9th place. Lando Norris once again managed to win 8 races this season, with Max Verstappen winning a solid 4 times. Both Ferraris were able to win races, with Charles Leclerc returning to the top step for the first time since his championship win. Oscar Piastri was also able to win a race with Alpine, while Sergio Perez also managed a race win. Lando Norris will go on to win another Drivers' Championship, beating out Verstappen by over 30 points. Pourchaire also has a very strong season, finishing P5 ahead of Stroll, Piastri and even Sergio Perez. The multiple-time race winner, the Alpine driver of Pierre Gasly, has decided to retire at the end of Season 7, with his seat being given to Dennis Hauger. This allows Jack Doohan to make his Formula 1 debut with AlphaTauri next season. But at the end of Season 7 there will also be some slight regulation changes, but solely to the chassis departments. Midway through Season 8, Daniel Ricciardo is once again dropped by Mercedes in order to make way for Nico Hülkenberg. He leaves the AlphaTauri team as Daruvala makes a return in order to finish the season. Almost the entire Constructors' Championship remained the same this year apart from the top 3, with McLaren dropping down to 3rd, with both Red Bull and Ferrari moving above them. Despite McLaren's poor performance, Lando Norris was able to win 6 races, with Lance Stroll winning his first F1 race. Verstappen matched the McLaren numbers, winning 7 races by himself, whereas his teammate only won once. The last race of the season was then won by George Russell. But when it comes down to the championship, Lando Norris will take another World Drivers' Championship and beats out Max Verstappen by just 2 points. Now the drivers' market got a little bit hectic at the end of this season, with Charles Leclerc retiring from Formula 1. The reigning champion of Lando Norris will move into the seat, making it an all-British Ferrari lineup. Esteban Ocon moves away from the failing Mercedes and into the high-flying McLaren, with Alex Albon moving from customer team to supplier. Theo Pourchaire found a lot of success with the Aston Martin team but has decided to move on to Williams, allowing Frederic Vesti to become the first new driver on the grid. The Audi team decided to drop Drogovic after a solid P8 finish and replace him with Nico Hülkenberg after he spent the second half of the season with Mercedes, with the Mercedes team signing Clement Novalak for next season. Jack Doohan is dropped by AlphaTauri, with Richard Verschoor taking his seat. Dennis Hauger is then dropped by Alpine, with Johan Daruvala moving away from AlphaTauri, allowing Daniel Ricciardo to make another return. Liam Lawson is then replaced by the previously dropped Jack Doohan in the Haas car. Even after all the mayhem of the pre-season transfers, Mercedes dropped both drivers during the season, replacing them with Drogovic and the debuting Marino Sato. Jack Doohan was then replaced by Frederic Vesti, with Liam Lawson returning, but this time with Aston Martin. Despite all the chaos of driver transfers, Red Bull are still able to retain their Constructors' Championship ahead of Ferrari and McLaren. Max Verstappen single-handedly led this charge after winning 9 out of a possible 16 races. Esteban Ocon returned to winning ways with his new McLaren team, with his teammate of Lance Stroll also managing to win a race. George Russell secures another race win in his Ferrari team, with Theo Pourchaire also managing to win in his new Williams. Winning 9 races will secure Max Verstappen the championship in the penultimate season, leading the likes of Esteban Ocon and George Russell. Once again, the transfer market goes absolutely crazy after Lance Stroll retires from Formula 1, allowing Alex Albon to make his return in the race-winning McLaren. Sergio Perez and Oscar Piastri swap cars, while Liam Lawson is dropped after just half a season at Aston Martin. Nico Hülkenberg is also unfortunately dropped by Audi, while Frederic Vesti is dropped by Haas, and Richard Verschoor is dropped by AlphaTauri. This leaves quite a few seats still open, with Iwasa signing for Aston Martin, Enzo Fittipaldi signing for Audi, and Ralph Boschung signing for Haas. The final seat is then given to a returning Clement Novalek in the AlphaTauri. There will also be some big regulation changes to the aerodynamics, powertrain and durability departments heading into the final season of this simulation. Even in the final season, there was more chaos in the mid-season, with Ralph Boschung being replaced by Brendan Lee, Marino Sato was replaced by Jack Doohan, and Iwasa was replaced by Nico Hulkenberg. Clement Novalek was also replaced by Marcus Armstrong, with Enzo Fittipaldi being replaced by current driver of Jehan Daruvilla. The Alpine seat is then given to Callum Williams for the final half of the season. And in this final season, Red Bull managed to retain their Constructors' Championship to make it 5 out of a possible 10 in this simulation. Max Verstappen once again dominated, winning 7 races this season, with his teammate of Piastri winning the second most races with just 2. Dennis Hauger also managed to win twice this season, with 5 more drivers winning just the once. Former champion Lando Norris gets his first and only win with the Ferrari team. Esteban Ocon continues to win races. Norris's teammate of Russell also secures a race win. Alex Albon becomes the latest race winner in his first full season with McLaren, but the most surprising race winner of this entire simulation must definitely go to Jehan Daruvilla winning the race with the Audi team. And of course, Max Verstappen will take the championship, leaving Ocon, Piastri, Russell, Albon and Hauger. But now let's have a look at the 10 seasons as a whole, and let's first look at the Constructors' Championship. And across the 10 seasons we had 3 different winners, with Red Bull winning the most at 5, McLaren just behind with 4, and last but not least is Alpine with just the 1. The Drivers' Championship winners look quite similar, with Lando Norris winning 5, Max Verstappen winning 4 and Charles Leclerc winning just the 1 Drivers' Championship. However, when it comes to race winners, this simulation provided 15 different winners, being led by Max Verstappen after winning 55 races. Lando Norris finishes runner-up after winning 45 races, but then there's a huge drop down to Oscar Piastri, who won just 14 races. Esteban Ocon managed to take 8 race wins, with Leclerc and Gasly being tied on 7. 6 race wins for Russell and Perez, while Sainz only won 3 times. Dennis Hauger, Théo Pourchaire and Lance Stroll all managed to win 2 Formula 1 races, while Albon, Alonso and Daruvilla were all able to win once during the 10 years. So that then wraps up another 10 seasons of Formula 1 23 MyTeam in 2024, and if you want to see how this one compares to the previous one, the link will be on screen right now, so you can click that and go and watch. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, subscribe if you haven't already and drop a like as it really helps me out. And let me know in the comments if you've got any more ideas for another 10 season simulation. I do want to get more uploaded, but I don't quite have enough ideas. But I'm going to wrap this video up here, so have a good evening, morning, day or night, wherever you're watching. Goodbye.